by J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan moved in with the help of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve arranged that J.P. Morgan could take over Bear Stearns' liabilities in general. But there were some liabilities that were so odorous, so awful, that J.P. Morgan just wouldn't take them over, even though the Federal Reserve was stuck with the liability for the great majority of those assets. And those became the maiden lane assets. And among those assets, the absolute dead loser assets, the assets that nobody in their right mind would want, the assets that were so terrible that J.P. Morgan wouldn't take them from Bear Stearns' pocket, from Bear Stearns' dead pocket, even if the Federal Reserve was willing to pay for it. Among those assets was the Red Roof Inn. And who ended up with that? The Federal Reserve. That's right, the Federal Reserve Bank. You know, that organization that dictates the money supply in this country, that has this magical ability to make money out of nothing. They simply make notations on their records, and magically they have more money than they had the day before. The Federal Reserve Bank decided that they would assume responsibility for a $186 million loan to a hotel chain. The Federal Reserve became the sucker of last resort, and in doing so, the Federal Reserve made you, America, the sucker of last resort. Let's move on. After 2008, pretty much nothing happened because nobody knew about it. Nobody even knew what was inside the Maiden Lane LLC pot. Nobody knew that it was the Red Roof Inn or anything else. Nobody knew. Why is that? Because we don't audit the Federal Reserve Bank. Because we don't audit the Federal Reserve Bank. All they had to do was come up with a line on their balance sheet that said Maiden Lane LLC, and for 2 years nobody knew what the heck was in it. And then after enormous political pressure from Congress, from this entire country, the Federal Reserve gave us a list of assets and what they called notional value for those assets. Because, you know, when you can make money, when you can create it, when you can just make it appear, everything's notional. It's all notional. That's all there is. Create it, when you can just make it appear, everything's notional. It's all notional. That's all there is.